And we're also going to be live on YouTube.
Make sure it's Society YouTube.
Yes, it's not Unibuddy YouTube. That would be quite the disaster. Let's talk cybersecurity for higher ed. I mean, why not? They worry about that stuff too. And we're also going to be live on YouTube. Oh. Perfect. All right, welcome everyone. I think we'll get started. Suzanne is saying she likes your background. Okay, welcome to day 3 Cyber Marketing Con, Rate My Website Live. We're so excited for this fine panel of judges and website raters. That's what you're called today. I know that sounds strange, but we're so glad you're here. Thank you so much for lending us your brilliant brains for an hour to help a few friends look at their websites and give them some good feedback to implement and make them look good. The way this is going to work out, we have 2 websites that we're going to rate today, Enfront Security and Redspin. We'll take the first 20 minutes to go through the website and review usability, navigation, content, SEO, and conversion paths. And then the last 10 minutes of that half hour, we'll open it up for Q&A. But do put in your questions ahead of time as the session goes in chat or Q&A. And then the last half hour, we'll do the second website. And today we have with us Jerich Beason, CISO at SVP Chief Information Security Officer at Epiq, and Lauren Patrick, VP of Marketing at Curricula, and Taylor Morty, last but not least, VP of Demand Gen at Align. So thank you all so much for being with us. I'm going to share my screen and let's go through the first website. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
And hopefully you don't see all the Zoom stuff. Awesome.
Looks good, Maria.
All right. Okay, so this is Enfront Security. And I think the first category we're going to tackle is usability and navigation. And a few of the things that we want to look at is accessibility, imagery, identity. And so why don't we start with Lauren? In terms of accessibility, is the URL length easy and remember to type, mobile optimization, and the sitemap, the top menu?
Yeah, so just a quick disclosure, it was interesting when Aileen told me the 2 companies we'd be reviewing today, because I actually know Suzanne at Enfront. She's one of my mentees here in Atlanta. So these are all some things that we have talked about before in our mentor sessions and lunches. So Suze, you know my feedback on some of this, you know it's coming from a good place. So I think the first thing that surprised me was if you go and Google Enfront Security, the highest ranking page isn't the home page. It's actually the passwords page under products. And I think that's because the home page isn't very deep. If you'll please scroll down, Maria, you'll see that you have this great slider at the top, this counter, but then that's it. There's no other additional information. So I think it would be very impactful to add a couple more content blocks that align with the same content that you have in the nav. Now, the nav itself, I thought the dropdowns made sense under products and compliance in particular, but I do think that the home page needs to be a bit deeper, mirroring what you have in the nav, because on mobile, you need some more of that content.
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. And what about imagery and sort of the brand and the identity? Let's go to Taylor for this one.
Yeah, I think this is a big opportunity area for this site. You know, I think in general, they've got their story down, right? Like I was impressed with kind of their call to action. There's a lot of stuff that I really like, but it's kind of missing, you know, branding elements, right? You kind of have the logo and that's all that really carries through on the site. And so I think that's one of the biggest areas that I would say there's big room for improvement to just add imagery. Right now, it's very, very text heavy on those deeper product pages. And so I think, you know, figuring out what information needs to be in something like a blog or a support center or something like that, because it's a little too deep for kind of the main website, and pulling in more of the imagery to kind of make up for that space, I think would make a big difference for them.
Makes sense. And what about the content? I'm going to go to Jerich for this because you are our cybersecurity practitioner. Does any of this resonate, across the product pages and the homepage? Does this speak to you as our ICP, our persona?
Yeah, I would say from a content perspective, there was a lot of content on this site. There were a ton of videos, and as someone that is more visual, I can definitely appreciate the videos. And I would say that there's so much content that if the reader or the person that was visiting the site were to take it all in, they would leave smarter than they were when they first came on. So that's definitely a plus. I will say that I missed the blog. It's high at the top and it's in gray font on a white background. So initially I thought there wasn't a blog until I visited the site a few more times and then I saw that. But outside of that, there weren't any white papers or case studies or any other type of content that I would anticipate and expect from a company that's trying to really get their foot in the door and make a name for themselves.
Got it. What about conversion paths? And I think I'll go to Lauren for this one from a demand gen perspective.
Yeah, I think if you'll please go back to some of those product pages, Gianna. To piggyback on what Taylor was saying, there's a lot of text on these pages, which for a highly technical audience, I think makes a lot of sense. However, there was no point of conversion within the text to actually learn more.
Yeah.
There's
Only
contact.
here.
Yeah, exactly. And so, especially if you're on mobile, there's no easy way to click a button that immediately drops you into a form to learn more, or to what y'all were saying, download an asset like a PDF of all the content that's here. And I think it'd be really impactful to look at a tool like Hotjar or something like that to see how long people are actually staying on these inner pages, to look at where you might want to fold in that conversion point above the image, below the image, et cetera, just so that when the user visits their site to learn more, there's an easy path for them to take that next step in their buyer's journey.
Yeah, and I would add to that, as a CISO, I don't want to call or email anybody. I'm looking for a form, something that I could fill out pretty easily. If you have any partners, let me know what partners I can work with. Most larger organizations have, VARs that they're working with. So it'd be helpful to know what are the different avenues I can go through to get to your product.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think the only thing, and I'll just piggyback on what they both said, but when you have a download trial and watch a demo option, those are really compelling CTAs that can be kind of scattered in a strategic way. So think about the ways that you can use that to fit where somebody is in their buying cycle.
I like that. And make them a big button, right? Bright color. Yes. It does kind of get lost with the rest of the text on the page. That is absolutely true.
Sorry, Maria, I meant to mention that. That orange in the in-front logo, I think, could be a great color to use as that CTA button, because with all the blue and white and black, like that orange would absolutely pop.
Absolutely. I think for me also, I'll add to the homepage, and I know you already mentioned this, Lauren, in terms of having more content blocks. I think these stats are amazing to see, but it would be really cool to also maybe see some use cases, even if they have to be anonymous. I know in cybersecurity, we struggle with those success stories and naming the companies. Logos, if you are able to, and if you do have approval from a few customers, even if it's just 3, it adds that street cred to what you're offering in your product as well.
Oh yeah, Maria. And then to echo what Taylor said, to take those 2 compelling offers of download trial or watch video and have those on the homepage would be super impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love the creativity of the CTA here. Like, I want better policy, stop those attacks now. It's fresh. It's not just, get a demo or call us. It's really cool.
I think another opportunity is there's a compliance section at the top, and I didn't see how the product applied to the compliance. It just kind of spit out what the regulations are requiring of passwords, but not how the product will actually directly impact me there and how it can help me achieve some of those things.
Got it.
That's also something that I would look at.
Got it. I do see they link to the in-front password filter here, which I imagine is one of their products. But I think you are right. There is that missed opportunity to add more about this particular product and also link to the product page too, if they want to see more, right?
Correct.
What about, actually, this is for you, Jerich, as a security practitioner, do you usually go to the About Us page to get to know the company, the founders, who they're about? Is that something that you look at?
That was another opportunity. If I've never heard of your company, I need something to legitimize you and to give you some level of credential, and the founders, the leaders, a little bit more about how you came to be. Are you venture capital led? Are you Series A, Series B? Something about the organization that gives me some level of confidence that you're worthy of looking into further. There's so many products out there that I need something to kind of put a stake in, and I didn't see that in this About Us section.
Yeah. Ooh, that's interesting that you even consider sort of like the funding stages. What about that? Does it mean maybe later stages they have more SMEs and the product is more mature, or is it something else?
It tells me a few different things. So depending on what my budget is, the earlier stage you are, I know that I'm going to be along for the journey. And as you are building, and there'll be some growing pains, but I can understand that early on, but I'm also going to get this at a premium from a cost perspective. Later stage, I know that there's not a likelihood that you're going to shut your doors, in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So that's also something that I look at, and it just depends on what I have an appetite for, but I don't have enough information to even make that decision.
I like that. You're one of those that like to join the journey early on and support, which is really awesome.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. Okay. What about support? Let's talk about the customer that's going to come to this website, versus just a lead or prospect. What do you all think about, let's say, what do you think about this drop down? And then maybe we can dive deeper into these 3 pages. Lauren, what are some things that they can do to help their customers get answers or reach out to the right support?
Yeah, actually, Maria, would you mind clicking on that FAQ button for me, please?
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that surprised me again was just the lack of imagery on this page. This is a great chance to really hit home that value prop before you just get into the FAQ. And it's also another point that you could add in your SEO. So one of the things I just noticed as I was preparing for this is that there doesn't seem to be a focus on primary and secondary keywords in H1s, H2s, or feature images on any of these inner pages. So something to consider is that any inner page is an opportunity to increase your domain authority around these keywords. So at least having a header at the top, like in-front security password support or in-front security password customer support, something like that would also help that page rank in Google.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, SEO is going to be a pretty big one. And alt text on images also helps. We sometimes think it doesn't, but it does some pretty good. It affects sort of the quality and the SERP results for sure.
Yeah. And then, sorry, under support, if you would go down that second page under knowledge base.
Yeah.
That was another opportunity to add in additional features and things or feature images as well. When I land on a knowledge base, like I immediately want to be like, can I watch a video about this, et cetera? Like the knowledge base just didn't seem very intuitive to the user who may not know what to search for in that one field at the top.
That's true. And from an SEO perspective, do you think that they should just show all articles as soon as somebody comes to the page versus having them to click like I just did, show all articles? Does that affect SEO?
It can. So I think that's an interesting question that you bring up, because Google is looking for specific pages and primary keywords on that page and how deep that keyword is. If you've ever done a keyword density analysis, your knowledge base is actually an opportunity to take advantage of that. So just something to consider, depending on what you're using to populate your knowledge base, is how that may be indexed with Google in your overarching sitemap.
Makes sense.
So
anything else we can add to SEO? Sorry, Jerich, go for it, please.
No, on the support side, if you can click on submit a support case.
Oh, yes.
Support,
okay. Yeah.
So, or log a support case, yeah. So when I did that, it didn't really provide much information. And it almost seems like this should be something only available to your customers. The experience said, hey, here's how you create a support case. Now click on that button at the bottom. It's very impersonal. It's very clear that you're only going to be able to help me between 8 and 5, where I'm going to get the best quality support. I'm probably going to get some after hours support. And then if you click on the chat at the bottom as well, I think on the home page, that's the need help one. But if you go back to the home page and click on chat, where I would assume I'm also going to get some level of support, it seemed outdated. It told me that there was someone hadn't used it since 6/24 or something along those lines, I think was the date. If you click on the chat in the bottom right.
This one right here?
Oh
yeah, I see it.
Yeah, it says was last active. And then
Oh.
I just typed in hello and it said give me your email address. All right, so it's not a very engaging experience, and it gives me pause for what support would be like if I actually acquired the product.
And as a CISO, would you, if this chat bot kind of said, hey, how can we help you today, and gave you 3 options maybe, are you looking for just resources? Do you want to talk to sales, or are you a customer? Do you need support? Do you actually go along with the bot until you sort of get your answers, or do you just close out of that and pick up the phone instead?
Yeah, I like the chatbot well, when it's a no commitment type of communication. That's what I like about the chatbot. Once I give my email address, I am signing up for 5 to 10 emails that I'm going to get from this organization. So I don't want to do that until I'm confident that I want that level of engagement. So I want to ask some basic questions. I'm hoping the chatbot can provide that for me.
Got it. No big commitments. I think I've heard this so many times in cybersecurity. It's like dating. Don't ask for anything serious in the first few months, or at least in the first few scrolls of the website, right? Let you kind of take that journey on your own. And it's interesting that you said that you actually would engage with a bot. That's always like a big question mark for us. And I think a lot of us go with bots just because, it's something that is either available to us through our marketing automation platforms, or it's something that we want to experiment with, but we're not sure what it's going to do. And we just hope that would convert, unknown website visitors and get their emails. But it's good to see that you'd rather not give your email, but get the information you want. And I think that's the mindset we need to start putting ourselves in. Is like, let's just give people the information they need and let them come back to us when they want to give us their email. Anything else we can add here? We do have a few minutes. If you want to refer to your notes from the spreadsheet, I know we jumped around a little bit. Lauren, Taylor.
Yeah, my only other notes I had were just to really think through those primary keywords that you want to rank for. I took a peek over in Moz, and the top ranking keywords were kind of all over the place. Like there was PassFit Pro, FBI password at least login, misspelling on, instead of blacklist hat, it was BALK or LCK list hack. So just think through, like, as you are going through the buyer's journey, like what keywords your buyers would be looking for, and making sure that that's not only in your site copy, but in your featured images as well. So it can signal to Google what you want to rank for.
Got it. And Lauren, can you tell us the 3 go-to SEO tools that you use that are free, that they don't have to pay for, but can give them some of this insights?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a fan of just good old-fashioned Google searches in general, like dropping in your URL and seeing what comes up first, or dropping in your brand name to see is someone advertising against you. So Google's number 1. Moz, moz.com is also my go-to. You get 10 free search queries in there every month. So you can see what you're ranking for, what your actual domain authority score is from 0 to 100. Inference actually had a 21, which isn't bad. For most software companies, anything above a 35 is pretty good. And then SEMrush also has some free tools available as well.
Got it. I typed SEMrush right before you said it, and I'm glad you said it. Now I don't have to type anything else. I just shared those resources with you all on the chat. And Taylor, did you want to add anything, maybe on SEO, maybe on content or imagery?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I've started using recently from an SEO perspective that I'm a big fan of is there's a plugin called Conductor. And basically you can pull up any page and in page, it'll give you recommendations. So I know it sometimes can be like, I know I go into SpyFu or something like that, and I'm intimidated by all of the rows of things. So if you want to take it kind of a page by page approach, it's a little easier to do it from the Conductor plugin.
Got it. And is that a plugin that goes on WordPress or?
No, it's a Google Chrome plugin. I'm sure it's available for other browsers as well.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you both so much. Jerich, can we jump into Q&A, or did you want to add a few last comments or thoughts on in front?
I'm a CISO, right? So I'm not a marketing person. So I'm not going to have all of the background you guys have. But I will say that the logo was bold and it stood out. And I don't think I'm ever going to forget the square inside of a square. And that orange, it pops. And I think you miss opportunity to have more orange so that you can stay on brand a little bit more often. The blue is a departure from the logo. So I would consider maybe finding more opportunities to put in an orange.
Love that. That is, yeah, I love that. I mean, just in the CTAs, like we said, yeah, absolutely. Love it. All right, let's look into Q&A. So we have Liz who said, a page we struggle with is listing out our resources within a section dedicated to it on our website. It's a bad user experience as it leads you to a long form afterwards. Are there any examples of sites that deal with this well? We do not have any fancy tools, just WordPress and Gravity Forms. Anybody want to jump on that one? Actually, Liz, I might direct you to, so a few years ago, I used to work for a cybersecurity company called Owl Cyber Defense. And we did an entire website redesign, and a big part of that was just revamping the entire resource page and creating these filters. We had to tag the resources and the content in the back end by industry, because we served a lot of industries, but then also by type of product. And even sometimes we did it even by persona. So what would the CISO want versus what would security ops engineer want, or an IT engineer. And that is a really, really good example for a good resource page. Do check it out. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are other websites that are awesome at it, but this is a good security example. It's owlcyberdefense.com, and I'm going to put it in the chat right here for you. Yeah, awesome. And sorry. Go ahead, Lauren.
I was just going to say, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think there are some tools that I might be able to send over for WordPress that'll help with kind of categorization, organizing, and even things like just updating your templates. There's a lot of free tools that exist in WordPress that'll help you, just better manage your resource center.
Perfect. And by the way, for I know no fancy tools, and that's fine, as you're starting off. But I don't know how many people know this. If you don't already have a marketing automation platform, HubSpot has startup pricing that you can get at I think 90% off for the marketing package, which comes with a great deal. Everything is in there. You got chatbots, social ads, emails, landing pages, everything. So, and it's an amazing tool. So do check it out if you want to kind of like step up some of the infrastructure and maybe even conversion rates and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Just to piggyback on that, yeah, I can't say enough good things about HubSpot. If you do already have a marketing automation system in place, look to see what templates might be available there to start architecting a landing page for your resources. We personally use HubSpot over here at Curricula. It's been a great stopgap until we can actually build out our own resources pages as well. I dropped a couple in the chat. Now, granted, they're outside of our industry, but being here in Atlanta, these are two of our Atlanta unicorns that I think did resources sections really well with SalesLoft and Terminus, if you're looking for ideas about best practices for structuring your resource center.
Yeah, we love Terminus. Hey, Sangram. All right, Suzanne, would you like to come on with us to ask your question or ask a few more questions? Let me see. Let me find you on the list. Where are you? There you are. I'm going to allow you to talk if you'd like to talk. Otherwise, chat is fine as well.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so this was awesome feedback. Thank you so much. Okay, do I press join as panel?
Sure, you can join if you'd like, but audio is fine as well.
Okay, all right, I'll just press that, I guess, because I don't have a ton of questions. But I was curious about the quote request page, like why people would go to it and then just leave.
The quote request?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Where do I find that again? Is it,
You can go to products.
okay,
The idea is so we should put it on the homepage or put more call to action on the homepage. You mentioned that.
yeah. Yeah, definitely more calls to action. Is it, this one, is it get in touch? Oh, okay, here we go.
And then it's right there, which we
I see it.
not have the sticky thing on the side. I was like, we need that. 'Cause that's a lot of words. Okay, yes, right here.
Yeah, so you've seen a lot of drop off here, right?
Yes.
Jerich, what do you think about this form? What are some things that they can do to maybe optimize for better conversions?
Well, first, I don't understand what your cost model is, right? So I may not want to provide all the information you're asking for a quote. A lot of the time, a quote request is first name, last name, email, and then we can have a conversation and I'll be open to giving you other information about my company. You're asking me for information about my company that I'm just not ready to provide, number one. And number two, I don't know how relevant it is, right? So am I paying by domain? Am I paying by user? I may not want to give you too much detail because I might want it to be in a smaller subset of my company before I expand to the rest of my company. There are just so many factors that would, prevent me from wanting to provide that information, knowing that once again, once I send this, you're going to contact me, pretty relentlessly until I tell you to stop. So I want to make sure that, we're on the same page first.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that just because being in demand, this is something that I think about a lot. And we've seen a big impact at the less fields that you have on a form, the more likely somebody is to fill it out, which I think sometimes can be counterintuitive in some ways. We're like, well, we want all this information to give you the best possible user experience. But I actually think a lot of end users have been trained that they're like, I fill out the form and then I have a sales call. And that's what they're expecting. And so I think that's part of just the buyer experience at this point, is that they don't want to fill out too much because they don't want you to have too much information on them. They want to have that call, see if there's a fit, and then kind of proceed from there.
For sure, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add one small thing to that. I feel like if you don't have a really big sales team and you need a lot of information in order to do the right lead routing, you don't really need a big form. If it's a small sales team, like Jerich said, just ask for the bare minimum. Let them get on the call and ask for more information to understand more about the business. And that's kind of my take on long forms or short forms.
One last thing on that. The way that you're asking questions about which in-front password filter do I need, it assumes that I spent 15 minutes on this page because there's so much information in the product section and I'm not spending 15 minutes on your page. So I probably don't even know what checkboxes to check when it comes to what products I need as well.
Mm.
Makes sense. Yeah, this is assuming that this person has been on the website multiple times, understands truly the product offering and knows what they want. Yeah. And most of the time we don't know what we want. All right, we got one more question, and I think we're doing great on timing. Jerich, this is for you. As a CISO, what are the first 3 to 5 things you notice when you visit a prospective vendor's website? How do you form your first impression, and what keeps you on this website?
A lot of questions you just asked me. Okay.
I know. Okay, let's dissect it. Let's first one. What are the top 3 to 5 things you notice? Okay.
Yeah. So the first thing I see is what is your company about? What does the company do? And honestly, when I came to Infront's page, I couldn't tell. I knew it was about passwords, but other than that, I couldn't tell what the product was. And honestly, I didn't spend enough time to really understand all that the product does still, even, rating this website. So that's the first thing that I'm gonna look at is, what is the product doing? And then the second thing is I'm gonna look and see somewhere, do you have customers that are similar to me already that you put on your page? Like I said, sometimes I wanna be early in the race. Sometimes I just want something that's tried and true. And if I don't see any of that anywhere, and then if you have any type of analyst rankings or even comparable products, sometimes if I don't know what your product does, I may know what your competitor does. And it helps me to see, here's how we stack up against company A, B, or C. That piece of information helps me decide, 1, this is worth continuing to evaluate, and 2, this is a company that I want to look at.
Okay. And then, so we kind of got an answer for that first impression, but what would keep you on the website beyond 30 seconds or 1 minute?
Adding value beyond what your product does. Right, so the statistics, that's definitely something I can put into a PowerPoint, but I have no information behind those statistics, right? So that's why blogs and white papers and case studies, they frame the problem that your product is solving. And sometimes I don't even know I have that problem. So I depend on you guys to identify and share problems with me that one will make me a better practitioner. Sometimes I go to product websites just for their content, not even for their products. And eventually that product is top of mind and then I go back to that product to purchase. So that's something that would keep me.
Yeah, for sure. And that actually brings up a good point. I think resources as one of these menu options would be great. And then you can put your video tutorials and your blog right under that. So maybe Discover could be changed to resources. Then you got videos and blog. And even if you don't have a big library of ebooks or white papers and you're just getting started, that's fine. Just start with what you have as a resources page and then continue to add on to it.
And Maria, just to echo what Taylor said, for WordPress users who are on the call, WordPress has a lot of really easy templates that you can grab and plug and play on your website.
For sure. Awesome. Well, this was so good. I can't wait to dive into the next one. Although I think Melissa just put in a Q&A. Taylor, I agree with you having lesser fields and short forms, but how do you tackle the backend automation systems like Pardot with other information to nurture that lead, especially if BDRs ask for it? For example, get a quote, skip, a number of licenses, field, but how can we quote with the number?
So this is something that we deal with a lot. Some information we just leave to the sales team, partially because there's an educational piece to this. A lot of times people, they're not sure or they're not clear, exactly what they want. But something that we've actually been using is Zoom Info has kind of an enrichment thing. So the things that we really focus on with our sales handoff is making sure they have the right information about who they're serving. It has more to do with the ICP than it does the exact product. If you are matching on product, you may need to add something. There's options, I'm a Pardot user myself, so we do things like progressive profiling, where you can say, hey, here's the first 5 fields. And then the next time they visit your website, you get a little bit more, you get a little bit more, you get a little bit more. And that can help you solve that problem because there is a fatigue phenomenon that happens when you have too many fields on a form.
Yeah, absolutely. My go-to 3 fields are email, job role, and country. And I ask for country for routing purposes. A job role also for tagging personas in the backend and Pardot so that we can put them in the different streams of nurture emails. And then email. And we do have Zoom Info Enrich. It appends all of the data in the back end and adds, job title, like their real job title versus our drop down and everything else. All right, cool. This was so good. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be Redspin. And we'll pretty much do the same thing. I know you have your rubrics in front of you, so we'll move on to the second tab. And let's talk about accessibility. Lauren, I'll call out on you for this one.
Really loved the way that Redspin's site flowed, especially as you look at all of the information that was presented on the desktop version of the site. It also correlated very well with what appeared on the mobile version of the site, particularly the way that how deep this homepage is. It aligned well with the same architecture that was in the nav. I also quite like what they did with this iconography. Wasn't crazy about the stock images, but that's just a personal preference over stock. Really did like this custom graphic here. Would love to see a little bit more of that sort of all throughout the site. And I have some feedback there regarding brand identity as well. But overall, I thought it was a great homepage. Lots of good information for the user. And again, just on the SEO side, to harp on that, seeing CMMC all throughout that homepage, it helped rank that on page 1 over in Google search results for Redspin.
Oh, wow. Page 1. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well done, Redspin team. Taylor, anything you want to add to that one?
No, honestly, I think the page is well organized. And I think one of the things that I always think about is like, what's the initial impact? And like the initial impact to me was like, okay, these people know what they're doing, they're experienced. And so it kind of gave just a level of professionalism and polish that I think made me go, okay, like I can trust these. Cause I think a lot of times, you get to a web page, you say, do I trust them or do I not? And then you decide if you're going to bounce. So I think that's kind of the first impression. Things were relatively easy to find. Good nav. So
Awesome. Yeah, you're right, Kevin. Insights is resources for some companies. And I mean, they have a resource center with other types of media, which is great. It's awesome. It gives people the option to choose what they want early on versus having to go to another page and then figure out what they're looking for. First impressions, Jerich?
Yeah, first impressions was very professional site. I almost never type in a URL. And so being able to go to Google and type in Redspin, and the very first thing that pops up is redspin.com, and it drops me onto redspin.com was very helpful. The site was easy to navigate, both on mobile and on my desktop, and I didn't have to figure out how to do it on mobile. Sometimes people change it up so differently on mobile that I have to figure out how to make it work. So yeah, initial thoughts were positive.
And Lauren, I know you mentioned something about stock imagery, and I want to go over imagery because that's one of the categories. Yeah, that's always kind of like a yes or no debate. I think it's tasteful on this website. What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, so a little shameless self-promotion here. You see with my background, the cartoons that we use in curricula, we have Dee. So if you go over to curricula.com, you'll see that our brand identity, we're drinking our own curriculate, our own champagne, eating our own dog food. With Redspin, I couldn't get a great idea of what my user experience was going to be like as a client. Like with here, it's simple. We do security awareness training. We make it fun with cartoons. With Redspin, I couldn't quite understand exactly what leveling up my security defense was going to mean with the stock photos and the iconography, and you do podcasts, like all those little tastes that you give a user the first time you hit on their website, you want to echo in your product. And I just couldn't get a clear idea of everything I was going to get if I signed up to become a customer with you. It seems like you guys do it all, and you probably do. But what is that core offering? What do you really want someone to come away with when they first land on your site and only go 1 or 2 pages deep?
Got it.
Yeah, I'd agree. So the pixelated guy, he's cool. That's clever. I like it. The stock photos, they made a lot of sense in that you are a people company. Your main product is people. So I like the fact that you're showing people. And there was a military person in military uniform, and you do services for the government. That made sense. But some of the other pictures didn't align with some of the messaging that was there. So next to resilience, it was just a person with a mouse in front of their computer. Those two didn't necessarily go together. Now I can say as a CISO, I don't really care about that, but if I'm critiquing the site, that was one of the things that I noticed.
Yeah, and you're right. It just helps paint the picture, right? With the text, it helps kind of the imagination. Taylor, what do you think so far about the menu and the navigation?
I think overall it's relatively easy to navigate. I think the one thing that really came up for me is there was a little bit of fatigue in terms of figuring out exactly what they do in the market. And so it did take some clicks. So I think one of the things is like when you go to their homepage, they say, your ally in becoming cyber ready. Anybody that's in the cybersecurity industry knows that that's kind of a common thing, and it could mean 150 different things. And so I have to go dig. And so, I can see cybersecurity, privacy, and compliance, but again, those are pretty broad domains. What exactly are you doing for me? And I think from a user experience standpoint, I had to spend some time being like, okay, I see a lot of stuff on CMMC, but then if I click on services, I see words like assess and deploy. And so there was a little bit of, confusion for me in terms of, I had to kind of drill into those to figure out exactly what it meant. Once you get onto those pages, it's very clear. So like, for example, one of them has like their pen test offering. They have like a vCISO offering, things like that. To me, that should come forward a little bit more because I think it adds some color to the precise things that they actually offer the end user.
Like that. That's a really good point. What do we all think about the logo?
I like it. I think it's great.
Yep.
And I do like the fact that they kind of like, translate that red into different places, with the hover color, the CTAs and the arrows. It's really cool. I like it a lot. Lauren, you touched on some keyword stuff. Can you elaborate a little more on some SEO recommendations for improvement? I know they do really well already. What are some things that they could still do?
Yeah, I think this was one thing that, and again, I don't know if this is intentional from the team, but I thought if you want to long tail that keyword with the identity of red spin, you could add on some red teaming approaches to that if it's part of your offering. If not, disregard that feedback. I just thought there might be some synergy there that I didn't see on the site. Overall, I love how deep they go on the homepage with those H1s, H2s, and body copy that we were talking about, like prepare and prevent for ransomware, CMCC or CMMC. Like if you pull up your phone right now and you start typing in red spin, it auto populates those secondary keywords that come along with it. So kudos to the team for being very intentional about the copywriting and baking in those good keywords.
And Jerich, I know Taylor mentioned there's still confusion about what it is they exactly offer. Do you have the same sentiment? What are some things they could do on their homepage to just clear value proposition, what it is exactly they offer?
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure what the company did as a whole. I could tell that it was a consultancy of some sort. I got the impression it was purely government, and now I'm not so sure. So it would be helpful to hone in, this is who we are, this is what we do, and then these are all the different ways that we can go about doing it. And also on the About Us section, where I would think I would learn a little bit more about that, people weren't highlighted. The leadership team wasn't highlighted, founders, anybody. When your organization is 100% people as the product, I want to get some indication of the quality of the people. And I want to be able to see the leaders at the top have been in the industry for X period of time, and they have served in these different capacities. I'm going to LinkedIn those people and see, what they have to say. Are they prevalent in the industry, or are they just figureheads, right? I want to understand more about, what is actually going to be delivered. And another thing, I'm trying to find my notes, but there was a section that said something along the lines of, we are world class. We're recognized as world class. By who? Who has recognized you as world class? In security, we're really skeptical just by the way we do work. We have to be skeptical, but there are so many companies, so many service providers, so many products that we need something that you can anchor some of those statements on. And I saw a lot of big statements and grandiose statements, but with no fact behind them.
I like that. And it's true, you're right. I mean, they do have a nice strip of logos here, which is really awesome. What might make sense is to add sort of the compliance regulations that they help their customers meet, right? They do go over compliance a great deal on their website. So which one is it? Yeah, I love that. And then since they're government, maybe, sort of the raise the bar or any other government compliance that they help their customers meet could be good too. Some official badges on the website.
Yeah, and Maria, if you could scroll back down to that sitemap, this is something that I think could be super impactful if they have all those great logos to actually have their case studies. Like if you go over to their insight section, I didn't find any case studies out the gate.
Right. And it opens up to a new tab. Do you recommend that?
I do, especially if it's not what someone was looking for, giving that ability to go back to that original site and kind of toggle in between the two. Oh yeah, this tab is loading really slow.
Yeah, it is super slow. I wonder what's going on here. Oh, okay.
Whoa, that was weird.
That was not my experience last night. So
yeah,
it could just be my connection here in this office building and the firewall. That's fine.
Yeah, I have it up right now, so I can attest to it functioning.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, like if we were on the Insight Center, like it says, I'm looking for, and it doesn't actually give any customer testimonials or user stories. And I think that would be great validation if they are proven to actually have that voice of the customer on their website as well.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, and they were able to have the logo strip, so those companies must have approved, to be mentioned. So, just push them a little bit for some information on how they're using the product and some of the results they're getting. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think one thing that did stand out to me in the Insight Center is that, they're going heavy on CMMC content, which is especially confusing when I'm looking at the fact that they're doing CMMC training. I'm kind of like, who are you serving? Are you training people to become, CMMC like certifiers, or like what is your kind of role in the marketplace? So I think making sure that that's really clear, that's clearly an area that they're pushing on. And I think that's great. It's on their homepage. It's consistent in their resource center. They've spent a lot of time talking about CMMC, but just making sure they're clear, who are they going to serve? Because there's a lot of different audiences for CMMC.
That's true. What about conversions on the website and a few things that they could do to optimize? I mean, I think they do a really good job with the calls to action. Anything that stands out?
Every page had something for me to subscribe to, or we're here to help. There were multiple paths to contacting people. The contact us is very clear at the top, big, bold, red. So I definitely had no doubt about how I can get a hold of somebody.
Okay. How about the length of the form?
The length of the form is not too bad. I'd rather have less stars, right? So let me fill out what I want to fill out. Maybe there are some things that you absolutely need, and then there's some things that are nice to have potentially. The describe your area of interest. I'm just going to fill in some very, very basic information that's not going to give you much data anyways. So ultimately, you're going to assign me to a salesperson who's going to ask me that same question all over again. So maybe don't include it.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, this form to me is an area, like the questions that you're asking, if you integrated a Clearbit, if you integrated a Zoom Info Enrich, you could drop the number of fields on your form and you could see a meaningful increase in conversion rate. So that might be an investment that's worth doing, depending on kind of the value that your leads bring.
Awesome. Let's see. I think we pretty much covered a great deal. Send in your Q&As, everyone. And who's here from Redspin? Forgive me if I should already know this. If you are here, drop a hello in the chat and I'll let you hop on and maybe ask some direct questions from our star lineup. Is that you, Sophia? Awesome. Let me find you. Okay.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for being with us and thanks for allowing us to dissect your work.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing so far, but what are some questions you have for us today?
So I think I would like to jump into the about section, because the thing with Redspin is we are actually a division of another company. So when you go onto our other company's website, then you see all the information about CEO. Like if you actually drop down, the first thing about us is it says we're a division of Synergistic and it links to Synergistic, which then kind of just goes through the Synergistic website, obviously. But if you drop down on that about section, that's where we have leadership. Should we be including something like this on the Redspin site? Because this is kind of the whole breakdown of leadership. And the reason why we have it like this is because Synergistic is actually, kind of the main brand, and then Redspin is a division of this company.
Makes sense. What do you think, Jerich?
If you have leadership within Redspin, well, Synergistic honestly doesn't matter to me because I'm purchasing Redspin potentially. So if you have leaders within Redspin, these certifications, these apply to Redspin people as well, right? So yeah, I'd like to see that because I'm most likely not going to look into your parent company if I'm just trying to provide consultation services. Now, if you're a software as a service provider, then I'm going to look into your parent company because that's where the money's coming from, right? But from a consultation perspective, I'm more interested in, the people.
Okay. Good to know.
Oh yeah, I was going to say the same thing about the certification strip. That's gold right there, definitely.
Yeah, some of those certifications kind of apply to healthcare, so I'll have to discuss that internally because Redspin is kind of more focused on other industries other than healthcare, and Synergistic is primarily focused with healthcare. So that's kind of something we'll need to discuss internally, but I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, and Sophia, just to piggyback on that, if you go back to Redspin's insights pages, that might be super helpful to add to the top of your resource center is how you serve those specific industries with maybe 2 or 3 power quotes from your customers.
Okay, yeah, right now we're utilizing Uberflip for our content management system. And that it doesn't really give us that flexibility to do so. We're switching over to Follows, which is going to allow us to kind of showcase a lot more of that information and build out the landing pages a little bit more dynamically. So hopefully we'll be able to accomplish that soon.
Yeah, and from your content strategy, again, like if you guys were trying to intentionally rank for a CMMC, mission accomplished, like you're up there. I think it just, when you're thinking about your user and what they might be landing on the site for, keeping those industry verticals in mind or wanting to hear from folks who have their same job title might be super impactful.
Yeah, good to know. Thank you. Yeah, Redspin was a company that was bought years ago by Synergistic, and then it kind of just sat for a little while. And so this is almost like a brand new site for us.
Oh,
and
wow.
All the content is brand new. And I think they kind of showcased and focused on content for CMMC first, but I definitely agree. We need content for all of our other services.
And not necessarily all of, but if you look at your folks you're working with today, like your current customers, looking at those industries and those job titles might give you some insights as to who might be discovering your site organically and how you go get more lookalike customers like them.
Great, thank
Maybe
you.
consider organizing some of your content by industry. That way, if I'm in your industry, if I'm in the government space, I can click on the government and see the related content. There, you guys in your industry tab, it says you do healthcare and it says you do others, right? So that might be helpful as well. Because if I went to this site, I would leave pretty quickly because I don't have CMMC needs, but I'm sure you serve others.
Oh yeah, and I didn't know that you could click on these until I clicked. So it wasn't clear to me that it's actually a filter that I could filter by interest or topic, and then, sort of type of media or type of resource. This is actually really good. I love it, but maybe just like more clear kind of design that it's a filter that I could click on to get what I want a lot faster.
Got it. Okay.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
And I have to say, I love the design elements, like some of the red spin part of your logo in certain pages where they're like, it's really nice. I don't know, it made me happy to see that.
Also, if you click on insights and you go into some of those insights, I'm trying to get back to the initial insights page, but I have to use my back button because there is no navigation back, like once you're already inside of the insights.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, we can.
You mean like a breadcrumb over here or over here to kind
Yeah,
of like,
something to get back to just the initial resource center. Once I click on blog or whatever, I can't get back over to it because the insights is just, nothing's there because I'm already in insights technically.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sophia, you have webinars here in 2 different sections. I mean, I don't know if that hurts or actually helps SEO, Lauren, but maybe like for just confusion purposes, maybe keep it on one or the other. What do you think?
Sorry, Marie, could you clarify that question one more time?
She has webinars here and here.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. I think it makes sense that like if it's an upcoming event and it's a webinar, keep it under events. For insights, you may just want to rename that to videos.
Okay, will do. Thank you. I have one other question. It's about the homepage and how you were breaking down the homepage. Can you kind of better explain what we can do on the homepage? Because we're a coach partner. Does that need to be a high level headline on the homepage? Because that might be something that's kind of being missed at the moment.
Yeah, I think you need to go back to your core offering, right? So I think Jerich or Taylor touched on just all the different offerings that you guys have on your page right now. You may just even want to like consider doing a graphic that's like a checkbox of like, we do this, we do this, we do this. And then somebody's like, oh, I totally get what Redspin can solve for me. If you'll scroll down a little bit, please, Maria, to that second content block. Like you kind of get here with it of the questions that people might be asking, and then it leads them to answer that. But even to keep it more high level of like revising that H2, for our hundreds of clients, we do these top 3 things or something like that. Okay.
If you scroll up, so I can tell what you're doing, saying you're a coach and a partner, but ultimately you're a consultancy, and I don't see the word consultancy anywhere, right? So if you're a consultancy that serves as a coach and a partner, that helps. But I'm not looking for a coach. I'm looking for a partner. Maybe I am, and I don't know that I am, right? So if I am on your site, most likely I'm looking for a consultant. how you guys serve as consultants, maybe in a coaching capacity, in a partnership. But I might be confused at their very initial statement of what a coach and a partner even is, because that's not a typical definition in the cybersecurity world. You can't type in cyber coach or cyber partner and get anything other than a VAR, or I don't know what coach would get you. So just something to consider.
Great.
Yeah,
thank you.
I think the one thing I'll say, Sophia, as a company that does a lot of consulting as well, this is a challenge that we also have, and we did take some time on the homepage to make sure that it's broken out and kind of sectioned similarly to the services, but making sure that it says on your homepage, here is precisely what we do. We do SOC 2, we do CMMC. I see it for CMMC, but I think bringing it forward on your homepage makes a big difference, because a lot of people aren't going to give you the time and energy to click through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that is the hardest part, right? Putting everything into one really intriguing tagline to get them to click and fill out that form. I think it's probably the hardest part of the website. Everything else kind of like is obvious, right? You got your resources, the logo strip, but it's that tagline that could take you hours and lots of brains together to figure it out.
But it's very important, so I appreciate the feedback.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we have 5 minutes left. I know Kevin put in something in the chat about, well, this is what he said. I'm wondering about a division of Syngistech as a tagline with a value packed, typical tagline the customer would find value. Is it, well, wait, I think he's saying if you add a division of, would that add more value or not for the potential customer? I think that's what you're trying to say, Kevin.
It's under the logo. Actually, it's really small, but it's under the logo as a division of, I think.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's what he means. Got it.
That being said, if you think Synergist Tech has enough brand recognition, it's worth it. I've never heard of it. So it may not necessarily help.
Makes sense. All right. Any last comments, feedback? This was super packed with so much insight and advice. I actually learned a few things myself here today. I think if you all have any more questions, definitely send them to us in the Slack, and maybe we can answer them later via email. Lauren, please go ahead.
Yeah, just some final thoughts for all the folks on this call is that we can't do it all, right? Like our priorities are never going to get any shorter. There's always going to be more on the to-do list. So just think about those quick wins that you can get from your website. Like, what is that one thing that you want someone to take away when they land on your homepage or any of your inner pages? Because whether it's B2B or B2C, until the robots rise to power, it's still people buying from people. So remember your humans and think about what a person is actually searching for instead of getting super technical.
That is so true. Yes, the feeling part of our messaging that we sometimes forget. Jerich, you're officially a marketer today. You can relinquish your CISO certifications and all of that and join the dark side.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was fun.
Thank you so much. This was super fun. Thank you for Redspin and Enfront for letting us take a look at everything they've built. I hope this was insightful, and see you on the next session. Thanks to our raters. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks all.